as long as our voices could still be heard, there is hope.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
as long as we can still use these words, as long as we can still say the truth that more and more people are experiencing and understanding, we have hope. And I love that you brought that message to this show.
This is about control. Everybody knows. Everyone complies. We're the kinds of pros. I don't need a plane. I just hit the road. I do what I want. I can't sell my soul. Market about to crash. This is what you chose. Ruining the country. I think that's the goal. You gonna take the mark. I take narrow roads. I'm a man of God. I can never fold.
Here we go.
Yay!
Welcome to the Protect Your Purpose podcast, where we talk whiskey, business, friends, family, and freedom. I'm your host, Matt Marchese, and this is my co-host, Zach Grady. And today in the studio, we've got a new friend of the show, Shipwreck. Welcome to the show, young
Hello.
lady. Thanks for being here. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, came into the studio to chat it up with us.
Did.
So before we get started, we're going to pour some whiskey. Zach, you rock and roll while I talk about
Gotcha.
the show just for a second. Here on the show, we've got 4 formats where we whiskey, business, friends, family, and freedom. You guessed it, are the name of them. The name of the formats. Business is where we do a Q&A. It's where we talk about success and business and all of that jazz. Friends is where we have guests on. This qualifies, yes. And then we've also got a guest host format, which is that's the friends, the guest host. This is where you come in. Oh, here you are.
I can wave again.
Yes, you can wave again. Then we do a family where my wife and I get on. We talk about marriage. Sometimes Zach's wife comes on. Sometimes we have other people talk about marriage and family stuff. And then freedom. A lot of times we have guests, and when we do have guests, they're usually freedom fighters, and this is where you get to wave again. And we've got a freedom fighter. Yes. So
That's me.
our guest host here today, Shipwreck, is a host of the Shipwreck Show. Correct.
Mm-hmm.
And a podcaster.
Yes.
And I would like to refer to you as a patriot. Do you refer to yourself as a patriot?
I do not. I don't really run with and no, and
Tell me why.
because I have seen the actions of some of the patriots too. That
God.
I just don't want to fall into anybody's group. Like,
You don't want any groups.
not really. My name is Shipwreck, and I run a podcast on YouTube.
What do you consider? I mean, you talk politics.
I do.
You talk politics and aliens, and you talk all sorts of cool shit on all of the social medias: TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. You talk politics. What do you consider yourself as far as a political party?
Probably
None.
Probably more of a centrist. I'm probably more center than I am anything else. I
Really?
think that, yeah. I'm like, we were talking a little bit backstage today that if you really get down to the bare bones of this, you got one party pretending to be enemies with the other party, but then as soon as the door shuts, they're friends, and then they go to lunch together, or they go to these big dinners together, and they hate Bud Light because Bud Light put a trans male, but then they served it at, it's. I am of that understanding. I voted the way that I voted in 2020 because I felt like that was what was best for my family and my country, and that was for Donald Trump. Come 2024, and we talked a little bit about RFK Jr. More to come on my decision on who I'm going to vote for in that point. But for right now, I'm still pulling for Trump, and that's probably where we're going to go should Biden be picked as the nominee. I try my best to stay as center as humanly possible because I know not all Democrats are baby eating crazy liberals who want to change children's.
Of course.
And I also know that not all Republicans are KKK members and want to beat you with an iron rod in the name of God. There's a bunch of us who are just like, leave us alone.
You call yourself the common sense party.
I would say I don't know about, yeah, probably. I'm just more like, it can't be this. I understand the extreme sides of things are just the loudest, but come on.
That's the problem, though. Whatever you say you are, you're automatically grouped
Correct.
into the extreme side. So,
Well, which led us into this conversation, the Patriot title. I think there are good people in probably all of these groups. And I think there are also shitty people that fuck up the name for all of these groups.
Correct.
I am of a similar belief, and I'm feeling that way too about this Patriot movement. Recently, I used to be an independent. I'm still actually a registered independent. I'm thinking about switching political parties. If I do, it would go towards the libertarian movement because I'm sort of just an absolute freedom guy. And I had a friend one day tell me, well, I'm a kind of a conservative. I'm kind of this, kind of that. And she's big into the Libertarian Party. And she was talking about my politics and where my position was. And basically I was like, I don't do any of that shit. I don't want to be grouped as a Republican. She was like, nope, I'm not or I said, no, I'm not getting involved in your Libertarian Party. And she was like, look, man, the Libertarian Party is built and comprised of people that don't want to be a fucking part of a party.
Right.
Like, that's what it is. That's where you go when you don't want a party name and where you go when you don't want to be bundled into a group. It kind of brought me to a different thought line on politics with that. But yeah, the Patriot movement. There's a lot of people fucking with that one, just like there are all the other movements, right?
So we were talking backstage too. We talked about Trapped. So the lead singer Trapped came at me pretty hard, and a lot of the people on TikTok back then really considered him a patriot, right? He was the one that was speaking out against the liberal agenda, and he hated the liberals. Oh my god! And when I made my video, and I'm like, yeah, he might hate the liberals, but listen, he tweeted out, his support for a 15-year-old man being sexually assaulted by his teacher, and how he thought that was perfectly okay because it was a boy. And I read all the tweets and read the article and shut it down. And he came in, and like I said, he had made his response video, came out, he doxed me, just, went on this whole rampage. Not only me at this point, but then a bunch of other people jumped on. But a bunch of his supporters came over, and this is what they were screaming at me. Why are you calling him out? He's a patriot. And I'm like, I'm calling him out because he said it, because this isn't okay. I think we tend to, when we really start to align with one party over the other, we can't overlook the discrepancies of somebody just because they're one of us, right? We can't.
Amen.
We can't. We talked a little bit about Crowder, right? He's hot topic right now. So Steven Crowder came out, said some pretty awful things to his wife when she was pregnant, and it's leaked out. He turns out it looks like a giant, huge douche canoe, and people are like, but he's a patriot. I don't care if he's a patriot. You don't talk to your wife. I don't care how patriotic you are. You don't talk to your wife that way. And I think that is the mob mentality, like, we have to stay away from. And I feel that way about politics. I feel that way about religion. I feel that way about a whole bunch of things. Like, you got your extremists on both sides.
Sure.
We need to bring more people to the center, and maybe the extremists will just eat each other if we just leave it alone.
Yeah, I agree with that. If we meet in the center, and I'm not talking about compromise over any of this either. Like, meeting in the center doesn't mean I just say it's okay that you can groom our children, and you just say, okay, well, a certain extent of grooming is okay. I don't think that's meeting in the center. I think meeting in the center at truth, and meeting in the center at, absolute freedom.
Right.
I mean, you're free to do whatever you want.
Right.
And I'm also free to do whatever I want and believe and say whatever I want. I mean, shit, we just had a conversation yesterday about free speech. And we talked backstage on or why we started this show. And part of that was I just wanted to be able to say outlandish shit and outrageous shit when I want to. Sometimes I want to make a point. Sometimes it's not the best way. Sometimes it isn't the most well received, but sometimes I just want to say what the fuck I want to say. And if you don't like it, then you can just turn it off.
Right.
It's no problem.
Right. I feel the same way. But when we talk about like the Patriot movement, like when the trap stuff happened, that was their big push, was to take my account down because of what I said. So you're going to take away my freedom of speech.
Of course.
Simply because I didn't like, or you didn't like what I had to say. Yeah. Freedom of speech is amazing. I will defend anybody's right to say it. I absolutely will. I don't care what you say.
Doesn't
don't
matter.
care. I will defend your right to say it.
Yep.
But it triggers some of these people who are out here and they scream for free speech. But if a pedophile comes out and starts talking about, how we need to normalize pedophilia and how we need to make it, less stigmatized, all of a sudden they want to take away their free speech. I'm not saying it's right at all.
That's
Put
right.
the guy in jail. Like, that's how I feel. That's my line in the sand. But that's still free speech. And if you're going to be a solid advocate for free speech, you got to take all free speech regardless how you feel about it.
That's right.
And that's where I think a lot of people get hung up on the idea of freedom and free speech.
That's right. And there's a fine line in a lot of these. There's a gray area, and in that gray area, I mean,
but you also got to be able to understand that if you are a free speech advocate and you want to say whatever you want to say, you have to deal with the backlash of people that disagree with you.
Correct.
But these people don't want to do that. They want to be able to say what they want to say, and you shut the fuck up.
Yep.
Silence.
Just like so we got Dylan Mulvaney, who came out, and he was the summer sponsor for Bud Light, right? Huge uproar with Dylan Mulvaney.
Of course.
I'm tired almost of talking about him, but came out, and Bud Light took a hit, and they took a massive hit because of this. People were pissed off. Bud Light is the blue collar beer, and you're going to put a trans person who is putting on a woman costume and prancing around and trying to glorify being a girl.
You say
with all
woman, but I think it's
a girl.
teen.
Well, I think it's a teen girl.
Yeah.
And but I don't remember what I was talking about now. So
I think you were going to say
completely
how
lost.
Dylan Mulvaney says they want to outlaw. Dylan Mulvaney said they want to.
Yeah, he comes out and he's like, and then he said that, but he comes out, so he's doing this, and then he comes and makes this other video yesterday. He finally made a video. He's like, everybody's just so mean to me, and they're all being so mean, and they're saying all these terrible things, and it's like, well, you can't. I mean, freedom of speech and the freedom to be out here and do what you're going to do. You're going to get the bag. You have to be able to handle that. We all have to handle it. Freedom of speech does not come without repercussions.
That's right. We say it all the time. I have something that I say about this. It is that freedom is not free. Most of the time when people hear that, they automatically in their brain, we're all three of us served in the military, still serving, just got out, served for a long time. My wife is also in the Army. We've seen internally when people say freedom is not free, what they automatically default to in their brain is some soldiers over there dying in a war for our freedom. The reality of it is no, if you have a freedom, it comes at a cost. All freedoms come at a cost. And sometimes the free speech means I might hurt somebody's fucking feelings. And guess what? When I hurt somebody's feelings, they might try and hurt my feelings. And just like they have to be tough enough and thick enough, that's a them problem. And when you come after me, well, come after me. I don't really give a fuck because
that's a you problem
too. That's also a you problem, right?
That's how I feel about it.
I quickly turned that into a you problem as well. I don't give a shit if you come after me. It's kind of actually funny. Plus, in our world, it drives the algorithm. So, yeah, please do that.
Yeah.
But
come at me, dog.
Yeah, come at me, dog. I love it. But yeah, it's the cost. It's the cost. I understand. And guess what the other cost is? The other cost is we lose free speech, and then we lose our freedom of thought, and then we lose our true freedoms. We no longer are free. So you got to take the good with the bad. And sorry, Dylan Mulvaney, if you're upset, you put yourself in that position.
He
you
did.
know?
And I mean, yeah.
Well, yeah, 100%. Dylan's trying to be a trans influencer as well. Like if Dylan was just a normal at home trans woman and not a social, like when you're on social media, like you guys, you probably get crapped on social media. Matt gets crapped on. Zach gets crapped on because of his butt chin. I mean, it happens.
That has never happened. Why are you doing that to me?
Like a lot of people are starting to call him out now because it's been a year now, a little over a year that he's supposed to have been transitioning, taking hormones and actually physically transitioning.
So now all the trans people are pissed at him.
Well, and then
everybody's pissed.
A bunch of people then went back into his history and found out he's just an actor. He's a gay actor.
Oh, really?
Looking for
they
work.
all are actors.
So now the theory is maybe he was hired.
Who's the creepy one with the 5 o'clock shadow?
Oh my God!
That tries to drive kids
That's what
to
they
his
call
Patreon
it, Buffalo
page.
Bill.
Oh yes.
Who's Buffalo? I don't catch you.
You've probably
his
seen
name?
him. You've probably seen him. I don't know his name, but
Do you know who Buffalo Bill who Buffalo Bill is?
Look it up for us.
he tries to drive kids to his Patreon page so their parents.
Yeah, we took that son of a bitch on too.
So their parents can't.
Piece of crap. Buffalo.
He's always got a 5 o'clock shadow though, like and lipstick. It's like, dude, if you want to be a woman, cool, but be a woman.
Jeffrey Marsh.
Yeah, there you
This
go.
guy right here.
Oh yeah, I've seen this
Yeah.
guy.
You've seen him.
Yeah, I've seen this guy.
He.
All right. So
Sorry.
He still goes by Jeffrey though.
Yeah, I don't know.
let's reel this thing in. I got to know more about this trapped situation. What was the video? Can you talk about it?
Yeah, well, I don't know. He talked about it. He issued me a verbal cease and desist, and then he continued to talk about it for a month. I admit. So if you Google "guy from Trapped" and tweets, you'll pull up hundreds of articles. Apparently, at some point, he got kicked off Twitter for it, but he went on Twitter and was claiming that like men can't be raped and just all of this just ridiculous stuff. And I didn't know anything about it. I happened to fall into the article one day, and I'm like, oh man, what a clown, right? So I made a TikTok about it. And the TikTok did all right. I think it blew up 20-some thousand views for him, right? I don't remember how even fast it went. And then he got a hold of it, and he made a video in the middle of the night, and he's like, hey, my real name. And he goes on and on. I wish I saw the video. I don't anymore. Cats probably got it. But he goes on and on and on about how I'm a conservative in sheep's clothing, a paid opposition. I'm being paid by TikTok. Just like this manic rant. And that I'm a Democrat, and obviously he's not watching any of my content. And I responded to him, and I'm like, dude, you made the tweets. I don't know what to tell you. Like, this is my content. What is your problem? And on and on and on. And he's like, you can consider this your verbal cease and desist. Now, I've got a person that, she's not my lawyer, but she is a lawyer, and I go to her, and I said, do I need to? She's like, you probably should just let this one go. And I was like, all right. So we ended up letting it go. But he just kept going. And then it became not only about the video and his tweets, but then it became Shipwreck works for TikTok, and TikTok's paying her to mass report my account, and TikTok's paying for her views, and TikTok, I mean, just unhinged stuff. And eventually I just stopped going to his page because people were catching on. Dude's not okay in the head. Like, something isn't right. He's still doing it to this day, not necessarily about me, but he's on with some other creators now that they're getting paid by TikTok to attack him because of his stance on the Ukraine war. I don't even know what his stance on the Ukraine war is. And that was pretty much the end of the trap stuff. I can hold a grudge. Like I said, my outro at the end of my shows is my friend Hippie singing the Headstrong song. And it will be that probably forever for the remainder of the show. I'll hold a grudge. And we were talking backstage too, like, I don't do a lot of meet and greets, so I don't do a lot of this a lot of the time. I usually do this online, but I do that because I think people, they like the Patriots, right? They made him this, he's a patriot and he's a freedom fighter. And I'm like, well, if that's what I don't want to be a part of that.
And they give everyone a pass.
That guy's a douchebag. Like, I don't want to be a part of somebody who thinks like that, who thinks that my boys can't be sexually assaulted by a female. Like, is it true? I don't think, no, it's not true. They absolutely can. There's absolutely grooming. But I don't want to be a part of that movement. I don't care but his people, they took my account down, my big account, my 100 and some odd thousand followers account. They came to my YouTube and took my YouTube down for 2 weeks. They tried to come at me on Twitter, but it's pretty hard to get banned on Twitter right now. They came in really hard and said some really awful things and made some really terrible videos and made up some really terrible lies about me. Now, these were his followers. A lot of them at the time had also been mutuals of mine, because obviously we all follow the same content, right? Yep. I didn't follow him, but they did. And so when it comes to like the Patriot movement or I'm a conspiracy theorist. And people, they're like, well, you're a conspiracy because you talk. And it's not because I talk about aliens. The reason I got the conspiracy theorist labels is because I refused to wear a mask during COVID. I would not. I'm not going to wear one. I think they're stupid. And people are like, well, I'm like, you can, smoke through them. The smoke will come out. You can tell me at COVID. And people would call me a conspiracy theorist because I wouldn't wear masks. I thought was just ridiculous because my mind, conspiracy theorists were the JFK stuff. And, so I owned it, and then I kind of dove into the JFK stuff, and I started.
Those are just theories.
Yeah, they're just yeah. They're true now.
Of course, they're out in the open. All the shit that was conspiracy theory, all the shit that at one point was considered a radical conspiracy theory, is now openly fucking admitted by the government, by our people. Yes, it happened, and now we were talking earlier about an alien mothership.
Yeah.
We're so fucking numb that the US government can come out and say we actually did kill JFK and nobody bats an eye.
Right.
It's so normalized, and I mean it's a part of the propaganda, it's a part of the whole system, is to fucking numb us and numb us and numb us and numb us to when the truth comes out, we breeze over it like it was nothing. It's gone, just a thing of the past. In and out, makes headline news, maybe, or doesn't, gets covered up by some other distraction, and then poof, it's gone. And we're so short-sighted and short-memoried as Americans and as humans now, and so numb to this shit, it just goes, gone, bye-bye.
Well, we streamed the child trafficking hearing of the 85,000 missing kids at the border. We streamed that last week. That actually had gone to Congress, and we streamed it, and I'm watching with Congress, right? They're doing their thing, and they're getting their sound bites in. And where are these 85,000 kids? And why does the administration not know where they are? And were they sold into trafficking? Half of them were sold into trafficking. Why is nobody being, responded to this? And we're all just kind of sitting watching. And Eric Swalwell, do you know who that is? So slept with the Chinese spy.
Yeah, the spy guy.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
One of the senators called her yum yum during the hearing, but it was so great. It was so great. I'm like, what? But Eric Swalwell, instead of taking the time to talk about the trafficking, which we all know is happening at the border, these are little kids,
right?
6, 7 years old. It is really awful what's going on at the border. Instead of talking about that, this guy comes out and starts grilling the whistleblower about her participation in January 6th. She went to January 6th, she went to the rally, she was down on the street. She didn't go to the Congress, she didn't go to the building, she didn't do any of that, but she was photographed down on the street. And he spent his entire time trying to grill her about her participation in January 6th. It wasn't relevant to the hearing, it wasn't relevant to the topic, it wasn't relevant to anything.
Of course, never is.
And that was so disheartening because we were talking about little baby children that are missing, that are being sold off into slavery. Like slavery, literally the one thing the
Slavery.
Democrats are all like, slavery. Okay, this is happening, and they're all like, yeah, but J6. And it's like, are you kidding me right now? Like, but you're right. We're so desensitized to it that even when things are put right in front of you in black and white with video and audio, and I could break down all of the facts and I could show you examples, and I could get you witness, it don't matter.
Doesn't matter.
You're a conspiracy theorist.
You're crazy.
Fuck you then. I'm fine. I'm a conspiracy theorist. Give me my hat, my tinfoil hat. Okay, give me my cookies, and I'm just going to own it.
I love it. We're going to get tinfoil hats for everybody. Ian.
Yeah. Protect your purpose, tinfoil hats.
Matt,
Get on it.
I think a fantastic, when in your
I don't need to wear it. I'll get you one.
You need one too.
I don't.
Make him look like a Viking.
All you hear is my voice. You can't
I know,
see
but
mine.
I'd like to look over at you and you being wearing a fucking tinfoil hat, a Viking hat. We need tinfoil Viking hats. I'll give you extra
hats.
money
Oh,
to buy.
I'll make one.
No, I want you to.
No, it's too late.
I want you to find some real fucking. When we have guests on this show, it's an option. You can wear a Viking tinfoil conspiracy theorist hat. Anyhow, yeah, being a conspiracy theorist, I use the term Democrat as an insult to people. I love it, and I call people who are obviously not Democrats, and they get mad. And I call people who obviously are Democrats, and then they get mad. I'm like, Democrat is just a fucking insult.
Right.
And whereas conspiracy theorist used to be an insult, and now those of us who subscribe to that shit, we're like, yeah, give me my fucking hat. Give me you have a badge? Do we have a uniform for this group? Because I'm in. Conspiracy theorists seem to be the ones that are truth tellers.
We're trying. I mean, and I think
Truthers.
a lot of people were trying. And
Yeah.
this came out with the jab. That when they started talking about the COVID stuff, then they started talking about the jab, right? The vaccine day. And I was like, man, at 3, 4, 5 months, you're going to start seeing mandates. Get ready now.
Here we go.
Get ready to pull your kids out. Get ready to homeschool them. We had already made the decision to pull ours for the year. Get ready, because this is coming. And we kept saying it. I kept saying it. I'm like, this is coming. And my videos would go down, and I would point out examples, and I would say, okay, see, this is the plan, and here's Agenda 2030, and here's this, and we went there, and then it happens, and people are like, what the fuck? And it's like, bet. You know what? Just stay home. I don't know what to tell you at this point.
That brings me to a topic that I wanted to talk about. I meant to enter with this, but we had some technical difficulties, so I kind of got thrown off from the technology. But not you, the technology. I understand it's not you. Don't be so
I appreciate
sensitive.
you.
He's so sensitive.
Don't be so
Dude,
sensitive.
you brought it up. And
He's
I don't have
fucking
a
Democrat.
tinfoil hat to block.
You
the
should have saw him
sensitivity.
go over to click the mic.
Stop acting like
was
such
so
a Democrat. Okay? Stop being such a victim, Ian.
But
Just
Matt,
kidding. Stop it. I wanted to lead in with this back to the truth here, or the beginning of the show. I want to go talk about how you got started. You got started in this kind of pre-COVID or post-COVID, right at the start of this COVID bullshit.
Right at the start of COVID.
So tell us the story. How did that enter? How'd that happen?
Yeah, so I was making mom content, and I was running a little in-home bakery at the time. I stay home with my kids. My husband works full-time. That just worked better for us.
Sure.
And I was baking all these cakes, and then COVID hit. I kicked the kids out of school. We made the cool window rainbows where, they had this, just whatever.
Yep.
But it was the masks. Like, I was so pissed off about the stupid masks. And they were going to make these kids wear masks. I'm like, I'm not making my kids wear masks. I had made a TikTok. I'd found TikTok. I wasn't making a lot of TikToks at the time. Just a couple here and there. But I had made one about the mask sitting in the parking lot of Fairway. And I'm like, this is just something like, this is stupid. Like, I don't understand why this is happening. And it blew up, and I had found my people. And I didn't know that anybody out there felt like dicks. Like, at the time, we were living in a small cow town, and that cow town just jumped the fuck on board with all of the COVID mandates, right? Fairway had the up and down aisles, and you had to go at certain times, and the city had implemented a mask mandate, even though the state did not. And all of my friends who I thought were, normal, all of a sudden we're not. We're masked up, walking their kids down the street. We're making their kids wear masks as they were wrestling at these wrestling meets, which I think that's just ridiculous. And
Let's get sweaty and touch each other.
well,
Fucking
spit in each
disgusting.
other's faces. Like, I get it. My kid, my youngest used to wrestle. So I'm like, this is so insane. Why are you allowing this to happen? And they're like, we just don't want to rock the ball. Bitch, I'm going to tip this over.
Yeah.
And I'd made this TikTok. The TikTok blew up, and then I got very combative with it, and so I was responding to comments, is what it was. So people would be like, they would call me a conspiracy theory. That was one of them. Also would call me Typhoid Mary, and I was called that an awful lot. So I almost named that the show, but I was called Typhoid Mary a lot, and people were just coming. And then I had TikTok doctors with huge accounts, millions of followers, coming at me about these videos that I was making in regard to the masks and the COVID stuff. Like, help me understand how any of this makes any sense, because it just doesn't. And they're like, well, asymptomatic.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They told you were sick, but you weren't sick.
You weren't. So I mean that they said you couldn't eat inside. So they took the inside outside, and then you could eat inside as long as the inside was in the outside. Like, that didn't make any sense. They shut down gyms. And they shut down mom and pop cafes and coffee shops, but they left open liquor stores, and they left open Walmart and Target. Walmart, where I walked in and I saw Jim Bob Barley sneeze in his freaking hand and then rub it all over strawberries while he was picking out the shitty ones. Like, and you want me to wear a mask? I didn't understand it, and I couldn't, but I was so shocked at how many people just
bought in.
Mm-hmm. The fear in these, like, I would walk down the street, and the fear first, like the fear in these people's eyes was insane. But then second was anger, because I wasn't going to wear a mask. And I was probably one of the very only people around at the time. It was probably that first 2 weeks that I wouldn't wear them. I didn't wear one anywhere. I didn't wear it to the park. If the store made me wear a mask, Target, she yelled at me. The lady at the door, she yelled at me, and we left. I'm like, and I've not been back to Target since, about the masks, the fear and the anger in people's faces. And then a friend of mine who kind of felt the same way I did, but she was kind of like what we talked about, right? She wasn't going to say anything.
Yeah.
She pulled. She's like, "Hey, you got to watch this series or this YouTube video." And I didn't really, I wasn't really into politics. I was one of the people that would have like CNN or Fox News just playing in the background while I was doing laundry. I never really listened to it. But she'd send me this, and the video was called Fall of the Cabal. And it was,
I've seen it.
Have you seen it? And then Out of the Shadows. And then there was another one that I'm not going to, my people, when they're listening, they're going to know that I don't talk about, but Out of the Shadows and Fall of the Cabal. And I was like, wow, that's some interesting shit. And I hit her up and I said, she's like, yeah, this is what's happening. And so I'm folding laundry like a couple days after, and I'm listening to CNN, and they're talking about something that Trump had did at one of his rallies, some stupid thing. But I had remembered watching the rally that couple days before. And I'm like, you know what it was? When they were saying he was making fun of the guy. Do you remember the handicapped guy?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, he's making fun of it. And I'm like, hey,
yeah.
that's not what happened. Like, I watched this live on C-SPAN, or I listened to it live. So I had to go back. And I'm like, was he making fun of them? I'm like, no, he wasn't.
But yeah, they take those
But
little
they
clips.
took it, and they still run with it to this day. And that was like, that was this moment. Like, I made another ticket. I'm like, how long have they been doing this? And they're like, 50, 60, 70 years. Like 70 years?
Yeah.
The news has been like this. And then we got into Hollywood, and that's a dark
It's a dark place.
rabbit
Oof.
hole. The Macaulay Culkin we talked about. And then that was a good time to go down it, I guess, because right at the same time was when Harvey Weinstein was getting arrested too.
Mm-hmm.
So all of that, Jeffrey Epstein, all of that was kind of falling apart. And so we were talking, and just kind of naturally started talking. What I found was like Instagram, TikTok, they would take my stuff down constantly because they didn't want you talking about this kind of stuff.
Right.
And it started basically with all of that. I was on TikTok and I was on Instagram, and I had gotten kicked off of TikTok a whole bunch of times. I'm on account 32 now. I think at account like
32 accounts on
32
TikTok.
accounts on fucking TikTok. They're just candy anymore.
They say 32 is the charm, so.
No, like I got one guy named Kramer. Kramer says, I've had him on my show. He's fantastic, but he's got to be up to 90 by now. They just take him down, boom, boom, boom. But
Drop a TikTok account.
yep, he'll drop a couple videos and down his account. And it isn't necessarily TikTok. This is like bots and like mass reporting. And so you'll get thrown into like a bot farm.
Yep.
And then they will just keep reporting. And you can always tell too, because my shit is flickering. My videos won't go anywhere. And sometimes if I let it rest for a couple days, it'll go back. But it's while I was losing all of these accounts.
Dude, I got to stop you here.
Yeah.
I don't think the majority. So just so you know,
Mm-hmm.
and you've listened to some of the shows, but we try and add as much value as we can. I think this is a great opportunity. Number one, you've been at this quite a few years now. you're learning and you've perfected some of the things, and I imagine you're a student of this as we all are, and learning new every day. But something super important for people to understand that don't believe that there is right now active massive campaigns to take away our freedom of speech, our right to fucking say what we want to say and to be heard by the people that can hear us. And you just described it. I mean, there is an attack. We knew it existed. We didn't understand it till we got into this business where we go, oh shit, when we post this, it gets suppressed and we can see it, but I could post a video with no audio, just a video of my feet in socks sitting there doing nothing.
True story, by the way.
And if we could post it at the same time, same day, the very next week, a video which is like well edited, well produced content that we distributed out that gets 60 views. And then I can post same content, same day, same everything, with just a picture of or video of my feet with no audio the very next day, and it gets fucking thousands. It is, people don't understand the level of suppression. Like, there is an active campaign that we are up against to just exercise our rights.
This is the war. You talked about
This is the
earlier.
war.
You talked about earlier about people going to war and people,
That's right.
That's what people think of. This is something I've been trying to drill into my people's heads too. Like, everybody's ready for a 1776 type of deal. They want a revolution. They want to take to the streets. And I'm like, you guys, this is it. Like, you are looking at it. This is your freedom of speech, your freedom to choose medically. Like, when we talk about the vaccine mandates, right? They didn't kick your door in and force you to take them, but they made your life really freaking hard if you didn't.
Right.
And this is the war. This is it.
We are currently
Yep.
experiencing it.
Correct.
Yeah, it
It's
doesn't have to be
information.
guns and ammo.
Did I just
right.
understand you right? Did you say vaccine mandates? And I know why you
Vaccine
said.
Vaccine Vay.
Vaccine Vay. You don't know?
No, I get it.
Attenley?
I get it now. Yeah, I've
Igpay
never heard that.
Attenley.
Igpay Attenley? You don't know that?
Ipreg O'Shea.
It's the first time I heard that, and I'm like, we should always do that now. Yeah.
Yeah. Pig Latin's
mentioned
gotten
it
us
earlier,
through
yeah.
a lot of stuff.
Yeah. I wonder how long before they're
They
sensing
banned the
before
Latin.
Vaccine gets banned.
Yeah, vaccine. I mean,
Jab was pretty commonly used. That's one that they'll take down now.
Oh, yeah.
Too, was jab.
for sure. They're trying to keep up with the words. But again, I don't care what side of fucking any of this you're on. Like, you want to get your vaccine? Do whatever the fuck you want. Go ahead and get it. It's, as for now, we're still free to make the choice, kind of. I mean, we only have to worry about, my wife and I faced it. Persecution at the highest levels and the most complex 4D type persecution in the military. Zach and we've all faced it at very high levels. But I don't care what side of this you're on. If you're a fucking American, matter of fact, if you're a human in this world at all that still enjoys any bit of freedom or enjoyment in your life, you have to understand that it is the U.S. Constitution that is granting us all that power. And if that is taken down, we are all fucked. And that is what we are losing. Like, this is an active war on our constitutionally protected rights.
Correct.
And it's happening. You just described it perfectly. And people, I don't care what side you're on. Is that okay? It's not okay.
And if you don't think that's a violation of free speech, that's the
Then
problem.
you're
A lot of
fucking
people
brainwashed.
don't think that. Right.
But even the ones, and we've talked about this on previous shows, even the ones that understand it, even the ones that are like, yeah, it's kind of fucked up.
But they just roll with it anyway.
Just roll with it.
And that's the biggest thing. And that's what we try to drill in people's heads. too.
Fuck.
Like, there needs to be more of us. Like,
Right.
this isn't you taking to the streets with your guns. I hear that so much. They're like, you're not going anywhere.
It's not
what you need
right.
to do is you need to go up to Target to the door to the guy who's checking your mask and tell him you're not going to wear a mask. Because
Right.
if enough people do that, they can't stop you.
Bingo.
They can't stop you now anyway. It's a mandate, not a law. They can't arrest you for not wearing a mask. They can arrest you for trespassing. They can only do that if you refuse to leave after they've asked you. We have tried, but people are so afraid of confrontation.
Yep.
And I think that this is where social media and TikTok really helped a lot of people get over that fear of being, like I have been called some of the worst
Sure.
things imaginable, right? Like, there is nothing I won't say now at this point. Like,
Good for you.
fuck you. Like, I got nothing left. But I think a lot of people are in that position too. So just like they came in, they won't drop the COVID. They just said it. So if you live outside of the United States and you are trying to come in to visit, you still have to be jabbed.
They're still saying this.
Correct. And if that's because not enough people are pushing back on it, people will just, I don't like it. I would, you don't like it, but you're going to let them do it. Like we just showed you the died suddenly stuff. Like we just showed you this could kill you long before COVID ever could.
And
like,
if nothing else, like it doesn't matter. It's the same exact concept. It doesn't matter if you agree or disagree. We have to preserve the fucking choice.
Right.
Like you want to wear a mask? Wear a fucking mask. Don't care. Doesn't fucking affect me. You mosey your ass on around Costco. Do whatever you want with your mask.
Alone in your car.
Alone in your car. While you're, like none of it matters to me.
Alone walking the dog
Stop.
outside.
And I truly believe that some of these people at this point, like I look back and go, I cannot believe, and truth be told, I gave them 2 weeks to flatten the curve. You held, I
gave them 2 days. I'm like, what do you mean we got to wash our groceries in the garage? Are you fucking dumb?
This is fucking
That's not going to
ridiculous.
happen. Like,
listen,
absolutely not.
I feel like I was made a fool and a mockery of. I feel like I was duped, and I gave him 2 weeks. It wasn't like a full 2 weeks. We were kind of like, we had our own little crew that we were like, whatever, bro, come on over. But I even pretended for 2 fucking weeks. I feel like a fool. Can you imagine the people that 3 years deep into this are just now coming to the realization that they've been made a It's hard for me to admit that I gave them the amount of days that I did. It's difficult for me to admit that. Imagine if you had been duped for 3 straight fucking years on this, and now you have to come out and admit that. Like, imagine how hard that is.
Get over yourself and just do it. Like,
Just do it.
We need more people. I don't care what you did then.
It doesn't
we need
matter.
more people right now because this is not going to be the last. Like, this is probably going to be the last pandemic, but there's all these talks about Agenda 2030 coming up, and this is going to be a whole new thing now. And we need people. Like, we need you to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And this is why when I started the show, this was a lot of what we talked about. We talked a lot about healing, right? I lost my old man. I hadn't dealt with the grief. I was projecting it onto other people, and I was a dick on TikTok. Sure. I was a jerk to people. And I could only view the world through my anger and my trauma. That some of it came from that. Some of it came from a lot of other stuff. So we went through, and I was going through this process of healing a lot of that, like doing a lot of counseling and doing some therapy stuff. And as I started to kind of heal a lot of that and deal with a lot of that, I started to see things for what they were and not for what I was projecting them to be. Sure. And I started to realize that a lot of these people that are wearing masks in the car or that are getting so overly, just obnoxiously upset over pronouns, right? This isn't about your pronoun. This isn't about me respecting you as a human being. You got some shit going on, and you're using this as an outlet to project that shit.
That's right.
And so we tried it, and we went through this whole thing, and then we really started to get into politics because that was fun. That's fun for me to talk about. It's fun for me to learn about. I love learning about Congress. Failed these classes and just miserably in
I
high
wish I would have
school.
paid more attention.
Me too. Mr. Salker rolling in his grave. Like, she's doing what? Like, man.
Yeah.
But I love it. It's so much
She's
fun.
doing what?
She's
She
doing
got an F in my fucking class.
Barely.
Yes.
She, but I love it. I love talking about it. I love learning about it. I loved learning how the House chose a new speaker. That was a whole thing for a few days. Like, we were live streaming the speaker.
Was it, though?
Well, we learned about it. I don't like the guy, but he's like, because him and his Ukraine flag. Did you see that?
Oh.
So this man, Kevin McCarthy, come walking into the Senate, little Ukraine. He's like, Vava, Ukraine. Like, my eggs are at $7 a carton.
Right.
What do you
are
mean,
you
Vava,
talking about?
Ukraine?
Why they're taping people to flagpole or fucking light poles and shit.
Matt, I don't.
Yeah,
Look, I don't think the Ukraine's real.
Yeah.
Yep.
No.
None of it is.
That's another reason I'm a conspiracy theorist, because they're like, yes, it is. And I'm like, no, because they're using propaganda. If it's real, then why do they need propaganda?
They don't need propaganda if
They
it's
would need
real. It sells itself. It's real.
It's money laundering through FTX.
Of course it is. It's money laundering. Uh-oh. We go. See ya, episode.
May
Sorry.
laundering.
No, you're good. Yep. Honey laundering,
Annie Mae Onderingly.
Yes.
Anthony of Pelosi.
Yes.
And her husband with the bat. Oh, that guy.
Once you realize
God. Well, this is what I'm saying. Like, how
that guy.
ridiculous is this? This is why I love it. Because I'm like, what you would tell me Nancy Pelosi's husband was beat up by a naked man and he's a Trumper, and he lived in a black place.
The craziest
like,
shit.
It's so insane.
It's
anymore.
so off the fucking
I can't take
rails.
politics seriously.
It's because it's a show.
It is, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's fun to talk about. It's fun. There are some things that are more serious that we do talk a lot about, but some of this other shit, like let's just make it entertainment. There's nothing you can do.
You've got the Shipwreck show. We've got
Yes.
the Protect Your Purpose show.
Correct.
They've got the entire fucking world show. It's
Yeah.
a world. It's a show.
It is a show.
And once you realize that they actually have hired actors
Dylan Mulvaney.
for the show, yes.
Yeah.
A lot of the paid influencers on
Zelensky
TikTok and shit.
is a fucking actor.
Oh yeah. Do you see his?
Yeah.
stuff? He
How about
good.
that? He's an actor.
Getting out there in his latex suit.
Dude. It's
Sexy.
right. The most ridiculous. These are actors, and listen, I hate to say it, and you know, I get shit talked to me too, but Donald Trump was also an actor.
Yeah.
And a pretty darn good one at that. I mean, he had like the #1 fucking show. He was acting in Home Alone in the '80s and shit. Like this guy,
Little Rascals, dude.
Little
He's a rich
Rascal,
kid's
like
dad.
he's been a fucking actor my whole life, and we get and look at it and go, of course he can. He's a fucking actor. But again, it's one of those things that people hear. It gets sent through the conspiracy theory filter, and then they go, oh, you're just saying he's acting. No, motherfucker, he's actually an actor. He gets paid. He runs a show. He's been in movies. He gets paid to be an actor, and now he's standing in front of us. Is he acting? Like, I don't know. Maybe. But let's consider it. Like, let's take that at face value and say, well, he's an actor, so maybe he's acting. I don't know if he's acting, but maybe he is because he's a fucking actor.
We did a deep dive on Donald Trump during
What's your
his
thoughts?
presidency. I don't know now. Like now I don't know, but then I could tell you there were some connections with him and like Nikola Tesla. So Donald Trump's uncle had gotten the...
That's right. I've heard this.
Yes, and with Nikola Tesla and the time traveling stuff, the Baron Trump book. Have you guys heard about that? So Baron Trump.
Oh, yeah. He's like some kid genius.
Yeah, and there was a book written about him long before he ever even really existed. And there's a lot of like sci-fi. And I hesitate to even say that because God knows 6 months this could all just come out and that'll be it. But there's a lot of stuff behind the Donald Trump stuff that I think leads me to believe that his presidency, like him doing what he did, was more about exposing and reminding people of who was supposed to have the power. We talked about the COVID stuff, right? And we were talking about that backstage, how, you know, he's the one he didn't lock everybody down. He left it up to the states, and each state decided individually what they were going to do. My state, the great state of Iowa, did not lock down. My governor took a shit ton of heat for it. My town did.
Yep.
But my state did not. And so it all came trickling down to these local, and that was the biggest lesson I learned when Donald J. Trump was president, was that my local politics matter more in my everyday life than these federal elections, really probably more than the congressional election, like any of them.
That's right.
My local politics matter. My mayor came out and was like, everybody needs to wear a mask on city property. Like the governor says that we don't have to. Well, the governor's not in charge of that town.
I'm not in charge of that.
Well, what the hell? I never realized you could even do that.
Right.
That's right.
You know, and then we had found like the kickbacks that the school boards and stuff were getting for putting in mask mandates. Like we'd figured out a bunch of that type of shit.
Oh, yeah.
And and I wouldn't have figured if Donald Trump did not become president of the United States in 2016, I would probably still to this day be asleep. I would be like CNN just playing in the background.
I think that's true.
I think that's true for a good portion of people. Whether you love him or you hate him, chances are you weren't paying attention until he became president.
That's right.
Which is why I think, yes, he's good for the country. My life was better. But when it comes to what his job was, what his part in the movie was,
right,
it was that. It was to wake everybody up and to get you to start paying attention to what is going on and to start pushing back. I know more parents now homeschool their kids versus sending them to school. More parents now are on the school boards versus before they probably had no idea.
I never went to a school board in my life, and then shortly after, I mean, I got my ass escorted the fuck out of a couple of them by the police.
That's what I'm telling
you. You're out of here. You're going to walk out of here with us, or we're going to carry you out. You're going to cuff you and take you. And I'm like, all right, you know what, you fuckers, let's go. I mean, my wife was, I mean, you're exactly right.
Yeah. People took their lives back. People took their freedom. It's like they snapped out of it. Either they snapped out of it or they didn't, right? I think the majority of people snapped out of it. And we're like, what? A virus? Like, what are you talking about? What I have to do what with my groceries in the garage? Like, and some people didn't.
Dude, I made the comment a couple months ago. So that made that comment.
Yeah.
That they
Just
never will.
They're NPCs.
Yeah.
I think we might be wrong.
NPCs.
I think we might be wrong on that. I recently, over the last month or so, have seen and talked to, I mean, I'm out and about, and usually this is the topic of my conversations with people is, you know, this shit still. Unfortunately, number one, I can't fucking believe, like, I cannot believe. My brain has a hard time processing the way the United States of America was 2 years ago. I can't fucking believe that they had enough compliance to get that through. And I'm hopeful that those thoughts that I have, like my own disbelief that I lived through, my kids lived through, we all lived through, my own disbelief of that is an indication of change. Maybe the next one, whatever that may be, maybe we all say, yeah, you tried this shit and fuck you. We already woke up. But I think there are more, I'm going to say Democrats. I led into the show with saying that I use it as an insult because it is. But I think there are more people that still now that it's become normal for people like us talking. I mean, we're not getting attacked like we used to for going in and not wearing a mask. Now they're like, fuck. I mean, at one point in the military, they were separating us, vaccinated and unvaccinated.
Yep.
You had to sit in the front 2 rows. The vaccinated had to sit in the back 2 rows. And the unvaccinated had to be front and center in the front 2 rows. They were dividing us. Meanwhile, later that night, at a dining out, we were all co-mingling, sitting together at the fucking table, drinking out of the same toilet bowl as a ritual. Like the big fucking joke. I think now there are people who kind of like the silent majority. I think there are people now more than ever that are Democrats, that are fully vaccinated, you know, with all of their boosters and all their shit that are now going, yeah, I got every single fucking vaccine. I followed every single rule. I wore my mask. I was a good little soldier. I did everything I was supposed to do. And I got COVID 3 times. I was fucking late. None of it mattered. And all they did was ruin my fucking business. I think there are more people that, although they're never going to see eye to eye on politics intentionally, I think there are more people than we're given credit to. I'm hopeful.
I'm
The more time goes by, I think it's going to be more unbelievable that we actually fucking followed the arrows in Walmart.
I thought people would be more mad. But they're just kind of like, well, it's over now. Now we need to, you know, make sure that our transgender
But here's the thing, though.
children
It's not over, because this is what Matt talks about, too, is what it did is it installed, like, QR codes, which is a thing. And so
the infrastructure is there now for complete
So
control.
what COVID did was it installed infrastructure for all the stuff that's going to come later on. Like, yeah, COVID happened,
Digital
but COVID
currency.
isn't the thing.
Right.
COVID, it was the thing that started the rest that we haven't even seen yet.
We never heard of the words essential businesses or cashless society prior to COVID. Those are new words, and they will never fucking go away if these people have their way. Cashless society.
Do you think that this is going to continue on? Then do you think that? So, and this is something I ask a lot of my guests too.
It's a good question.
Do you feel like we got 2 groups of people out here? We got one group that believes that this is the Great Reset, your Georgia Guidestones, your Denver airports, your you know, New World Order type shit, your digital currency. We got another side that believe that this is the Great Awakening. Okay, and that this is more like people are going to wake up. You're going to see the dismantling of the 2-party system eventually. You're going to see the return of the power back to the people over the next, 10, 15, 20 years.
Yep.
So we got 2. And then we got me. I'm kind of in the middle because I think that we were headed for a new world with Obama and the Clintons and the Bushes. I think that was the agenda. That was the idea, was we were supposed to go into this new world order, but it was supposed to happen over generations. And then when Donald Trump won in 2016, the whole thing just fell fucking apart. And so now you're trying to see them try to force it through really fast, but it is not working because people are like, this is dumb. We're not putting chips in our hands, Elon. We're not going to, do you think that's a new world order, or do you think that we are moving into a more of a new, like a great awakening?
Great reset or great awakening.
Correct.
Age old. Ready? Age is at least a couple years old now.
Yeah.
Fuck, man. That's a really good question. Since I'm the host of this show,
this is my show.
Zach,
Sorry.
what do you think?
I'm going to punt, and I want you to answer the question.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Shipwreck Show. My name is Shipwreck, and I will be your hostess with the mostest today.
I have my opinions, and they're also kind of just, so I don't feel like I'm actually punting. I'd love to tell you mine, but I want to hear yours first because you're the guest.
I believe that this is the Great Awakening. I believe that we were headed for a new world order. I do. I think the Bushes.
So you're optimistic.
Think this was. I don't even know about optimistic. I just saw a lot more positive things that came out of the COVID stuff than the negative in terms of these two different movements, okay? So with the COVID stuff, yeah, it was stupid. It was crap. We all had to wear masks, right? But what did we learn? We learned that our kids are indoctrinating our school, and we learned that by the bajillions.
Fuck yeah, we did.
My God, I sat with these kids at the kitchen table while they Zoomed these classes, and I'm like, what do you mean? What is this?
Unbelievable, the shit they were talking about.
Yep. I learned, and I think the majority of people learned that too. So there was a huge push for homeschooling after that.
Yep.
People found that homeschooling really worked well for them, and they continued on after the fact. So there's the indoctrination portion of it. People got to know who Bill Gates was real damn fast. Okay,
Yeah,
so they all of a sudden they learned that Bill Gates owns a bunch of farmland here in the United States.
Ruh-roh.
Bill Gates wants to come out and he wants to feed everybody, this synthetic meat.
Yeah.
We learned all of the stuff about Bill Gates. We had a lot of time during lockdown. We couldn't go anywhere. So we were locked down. So what are we gonna do? We're gonna look up shit. We're gonna research shit. We learned all kinds of stuff. All of a sudden, all these people were learning all this stuff that was being done on the down low that they had no idea was even going on because they were working constantly away from the home. People learned that their families did a lot better with one parent constantly being at home. And so a lot of people made the transition from having a 2-income household to a 1, and then just managing their budget that way.
Figuring it out.
And having their kids at home. A lot of people realized that they didn't like working a 9-to-5 job, and so they quit and pursued their hobbies. They didn't quit. They were getting paid to stay home at the time because they shut down, right? Well, while they're shut down, sitting at home, they're pursuing their hobbies. They're finding out they can make really good money on YouTube using animation. They can start podcasts and do all these kind of things. People found their purpose in these lockdowns, right? People found their
Fucking did it.
people found their
Purpose.
And their confidence and their courage and their strength, and they found that all through social media and through all these different things. Because they weren't allowed to go and be distracted with, all of the daily ho-hum things that they were normally supposed to do, right?
Yep.
It was a huge shakeup in it. And people really found their lines in the sand, too. And I think that was really important. We talked a lot about people the naysayers. They're like, yeah, I know it's wrong, but we're going to do it anyway. Yeah. God, they drive me nuts. But a lot of people, myself included, was like, okay, yeah, I get what you're saying, but I'm not going. Like, I learned to say no in this. Because I was a people pleaser to the nth degree. I'd be like, yeah, you're right. Let's just put our mask on. No, I'm not fucking putting a mask on to go into Menards.
Sorry.
This is ridiculous.
Yep.
And I refused to do it, and I encouraged other people to do the same. I think humanity as a whole grew in such an exponential way because of the COVID stuff that there is no way a new world order can get pushed in after this. There's far too many of us now.
Awake.
And even the people that lined up and put them, that are the quiet, I feel like now they would kind of stand behind us at the very least.
I agree.
I think they'd stand behind us at the very least. Especially, we talked about backstage too, the dismantling of mainstream media. Now, you get your podcast people up there that people can hold at that same regard. They're going to follow you.
Yep.
Sheep. I'm not trying to be mean when I say this, but they're sheep on both sides, right?
Of course.
They're the sheep on our side. They just need a leader. They need somebody to follow. So be the person that they can follow. And that person is going to be and the White House knows this. That's why they're hiring influencers.
That's right.
Be the person that somebody can follow. If you want to change the world, be the change that you want to see and let the people lead, let them follow you into it. That's all they need. They don't need you to argue. That's one of the reasons I quit arguing with people. I don't need to argue with you. I'm just going to be what I want to see. And I'm hoping enough people will get behind me and come with me. And they are. Slowly. Slowly but surely we're getting there.
And against all odds and all fights and all fucking pushes and campaigns. I agree.
And I think most people, like we talked about the radical 10% on either side, most of the people are in the middle.
I think so.
And mainstream media and influencers want you to believe that the whole world is this far right or this far left. But most of us are right there in the middle. And
so I got a question for you guys real quick to go with those answers. I mean, if you break it down to the Great Reset or the Great Awakening, is all of it part of the Great Reset?
Yeah, that's,
all it's doing is dividing. It's causing you to pick this side and pick that side. And what this all did, and Matt talks about this a lot, it divides families. You lost friends because you're either vaccinated, unvaccinated. You're wearing a mask, you're not wearing a mask. You're white, you're black, you're gay, you're straight. You either believe in the Great Reset or the Great... It's all divisive, which you can say is, yes, the Great War isn't coming with missiles. The Great War is already happening because they're causing us to fight the war and divide. So now instead of having to fight a whole country, you have to fight half because the other half is already fighting it.
But that goes to the line what I was saying real quick is they want you to believe it's that far apart, but it's not. Yeah. In reality, do you walk down the street and look at a gay person and immediately start arguing with them, or a black person? That's not society, man.
Nobody gives a fuck.
Right.
It's not.
It's the loud ones that are always the loud. Like, they're the ones that get the most visual, whatever. They get the brand deals. They're the ones that are the loudest. They're the ones that people pay the most attention to. And that's done, just like you said, though, that's done by design. That is done to make you believe that there's more of them than there are of us. I hate the division that goes on because, and this is why when we talk about Democrats and Republicans and liberals, I won't say, because my uncle is a Democrat. And he's a great man. He's a great man.
Fuck yeah, my brother's a Democrat.
Yeah, doesn't want to mutilate puppies. Things,
Of course.
They're just, I think there are the people that are awake, and then there are the people that are not. And I think that is the two categories that we're in.
And we are waking up.
We are.
That's a fact.
So, yep. And as long as you keep with that, the people will come. Because we had talked about this a little bit earlier. You had said, imagine what happened. Like, when I started to wake up, I was, what is all this? Yeah. Now you got to come here. Like, there's going to be a mass of people that are going to start waking up too. And so you got to be the person that they are going to come to. Or they don't come to, but be somebody that they can follow. That's somebody that's not going to be combative or wanting to bitch and argue with each other. Be somebody that they're going to want to. We are going to need somebody. This whole thing is going to fall apart, and it's starting with media. The mainstream media it's done. I said this 3 years ago. I'm like, you are going to see this getting replaced by podcasters, your Joe Rogans. More people tune in and listen to Joe freaking Rogan.
Fucking by 10x.
Than anybody ever listened to CNN.
10x.
It was insane. Joe Rogan is like the guy, right? Yep. More people watched Tucker Carlson's Twitter video after he left Fox News. He got more views on that video than Fox got in the entirety of any of their shows that they've ever done.
Incredible.
Isn't that insane?
Yeah.
And so if Tucker went on to do something independent, or this is the future is going to look like. And it's not just going to stop there. So the media is going to be the start. And then once the media kind of gets taken over by the citizens, you're going to see those citizens start to flood into the different positions of government. And you're already kind of starting to see that. Yep. Your neighbors running for these governments and different people running for Congress. And it will be slow, but it will eventually start coming back to the people.
And I think those of us that we feel like are already awake and understanding what's going on, you had mentioned earlier there's not enough outrage, and I think you meant by the people kind of figuring it out, like, why aren't they more angry? But us on this side need to be not like, I fucking told you so.
Right.
We need to be more,
we're not going to say that.
We all got duped.
Yep.
We all got duped. You understand now. What can we do together?
Yep. It was frustrating to be like, I just wanted to shake people.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
but now it's like, you're right. I hate that. My people, I'm like, we don't say that here. There's no I told you so. You're going to wake up when you wake up, and we're going to accept you regardless.
Yeah, because also the people who got duped vaccinated their children, so they're already feeling bad.
Yeah,
they're feeling terrible. So don't add to their
and scared.
There are very few people that did not get duped. I mean, there are very few. I mean,
in some regard.
I was not duped from day one.
You may be a part of like the 0.0001%. I can confidently say I was not duped since day one, but I can also confidently, and I was always a skeptic, but I can also confidently say that there was a period of time, call it a week, call it a couple days, whatever it was, where I went, maybe we should be careful. And if you thought like you were duped and all the way to the worst case scenario, and I of course, I welcomed myself into the community of us, but we have to accept them. We have to meet. We have to. We don't have a choice. And it's the right thing to do. If that's what they don't understand, I say they. For the people who are not awake, they think we're some radical right-wing Trumpers that
mega
that want to.
I just laugh whenever people call me
that.
It's
so
like,
fucking
my content.
nutty.
There's nowhere in my content that shows you that I'm a mega.
Yeah, wrong.
Or a Trumper.
Right.
I voted for Trump. That's it. Like
that's
the
it.
amount of people that turned on me simply because of who I voted for in an election was astounding.
I didn't even vote for him in the first election.
I didn't even vote in the first election.
Yeah,
Same.
I voted and left the president. I couldn't decide Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump. Took a picture of it because I was like, I want this to go down in history because I know what these fuckers think of me. and they're wrong. I couldn't bring myself to bubbling in that fucking circle. So I just left it blank. I said I'd rather be a no vote in a Florida, in a swing state. Anyway, listen, I want to take a quick break.
Yep.
Let's take a quick break.
Yes,
Let's go check on him. We'll pick up with Tucker when we get back.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, break.
Hey, you're a really great guest. Good job.
Thank you. Well, thank you.
Yeah. You do this, though.
I do this.
Yeah, it's,
I do.
You do?
Well, I'm
You
awesome.
do. I love saying do.
That's our first solo female guest, and you're absolutely killing it.
Hoorah. I know this was
yeah,
like
you
when I
are.
started, like we did the guest thing. I had reservations about doing the solo shows. I talked to Sonia about it a little bit. I'm like, I said, do we need to start doing these? She's like, well, just do one and see how it goes. And the first solo show we did went really, really well. And she's like, yeah, these probably going to have to be a thing. And I'm like, all right. I didn't think I could. I thought I needed energy to bounce off, or people to bounce off of. But turns out that when you talk politics, there's just all kinds
So
of
I haven't
content for days.
listened to a ton, but the one I did, I mean, it was really
Yeah.
Your energy was great. I think
Wow,
it was awesome,
we're doing it.
actually.
You're one of those people. I mean, you led into the show with it. I'm the same. Bad listener. Love to just go off on a fucking tear. And I think those solo. So
Good
Yeah.
choice. Good choice on the picture there, dude.
Hey, there he is.
Oh,
Let's
that's your
go,
president.
Brandon.
Yeah, that's your president, Brandon himself. Welcome. Welcome to the show,
This
Brandon.
Sleepy Joe Biden.
This is another reason I don't believe that we are in the great, not the Great Awakening, but the
Great Reset.
The great, this we can't be, because if we were in the Great Reset, and
They would
if
have
Joe,
picked someone better than him.
why wouldn't they have picked Kamala? Listen, I've asked this once, and the answers were not what I was hoping for. Why didn't they pick Kamala Harris? Because she could have pulled off the part. She is the left sweat dream, right? She is just, she's everything that they would have wanted. If we are in the Great Reset, why did they pick Joe Biden? And if Joe Biden isn't Joe Biden, and we're in the Great Reset and bad people are in charge, then why do they keep making Joe Biden look like such a clown? Right?
I think it's intentional.
It is intentional, because bad guys are not in charge.
Well, I think they wanted to portray weakness to convince the world that America can't be depended on anymore. I think they wanted this fucking hollow brain, goofball, child sniffer, weirdo who can't fucking form a thought, who may or may not be an actual clone, to
Clone.
to
Right, with
to
Fetterman.
parade across the fucking stage and make us look foolish, so the world could actually buy in to the United States being weak and powerless. I think if there is an answer to why they would choose this bonehead to be their guy, is he will be the best fall guy in the history of the world, because he's just an old hollow brain, can't function, geriatric,
Can't
that
ride a
makes
bike.
us all look weak.
I think that I'm not so. That's like when the people come at me and they tell me that we need to be watching China and we need to be watching Russia. And we need to be. I don't think we need to be afraid of these countries at all, because I just can't. I can't see how that can happen in such a short period of time. The president has power, right? But we all know the power really resides in Congress. We all know the power really resides in your local government. The power of our military, right? The power of these people that I just don't see it.
You're not buying it.
I'm not buying it. I think that there are I think what you're seeing is a great awakening, and I think the idea behind it is that you have to see how bad it really could possibly get.
Listen, I love your optimism with this, because there certainly is two ways of looking at this. I told my wife this early on. I mean, 2 years ago, where my wife said, fearfully asked me, like, what do we do? Like, where do we go? If we lose our freedoms, can we flee the country? And we're looking at it, and my wife says, well, if all this shit goes down, where do we go? And I said, unfortunately, honey,
Here.
this is where people go. We were one of the fortunate ones that were born into this. Like, you want to talk about born a certain way, privilege. We as fucking Americans were born into this. This is where people go, and if this goes away,
But it hasn't gone away. That's the point
And
that I
that's what
try
I-
to drive
yeah.
home to people, because then people will argue with me. They'll be like, well, what about the vaccine mandates? Like yeah, but they didn't kick down your door and they didn't make you take them. And there's a universal law that tells you cannot mess with people's free will. Nobody messed with your free will. Nobody forced you to take anything. Nobody forced a mask on you. Nobody
right.
forced you to send your kids to school in a mask. You had options. You had choices. You chose. It was a hard choice, and I'm empathetic to that.
yeah, fuck yeah.
It was absolutely a hard quitting your job over a vaccine is a hard choice.
Yep.
Putting your family in financial ruin in order to not take a vaccine is a hard choice. But
Yeah.
you had a choice. Everybody in the United States of America has a choice.
That's right.
The choices aren't easy, but and that's where like we're different from China or Russia.
You don't have a fucking choice.
They don't have a choice. Like they will come to your house, knock on the door, and you will have to line up or they'll shoot you.
They'll kill you.
That's in China. I don't know about Russia, but in China, at least that's what we're being told. That's the way they are.
Well, that's the other
It's
end of
not
this.
like that here.
If you fucking comply long enough, if we do
That's
this long,
what will happen.
that's the end
Correct.
game. We lose choice.
There's no way that's gonna.
That's right.
There's no way that can happen now. There's too many people that are awake.
I love your optimism,
There
and
just
that's what I told my wife. Back to that is I said, honey, there is a positive to come from this, and it was hard to see through, and it still is. It still is hard to fucking get your mindset, and I love that you position yourself that way. But that's what I told my wife was, listen, there's a positive coming from this. There are more people awake now
There is.
than ever in our lifetime. This shit has been going on for 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years, and no one knew about it. The only people that understood even a little bit of it were the conspiracy theorists, were the ones that were just chosen as the radical wackos that couldn't be taken seriously and needed to seek mental health.
Anti-vaxxers used to be something you made
Oh,
fun of, and now
fuck.
you're like,
Well, I
I
did too.
fucking get it.
I did
Of
too.
course.
I was harsh.
So
was
did
like,
I.
yeah, my kids were vaccinated right up until
100
2019.
Yep, same.
Then they were. I was like, oh yeah, no, we're not doing that.
We're
one.
one of them too.
We're not a
We're
fucking
not
another
doing
one.
any
Nope.
more. Period. In this
Zero.
house.
That's right.
And we had a backup plan if Mr. Shipwreck's work had come in because there was some talk about it, and I was like, well, you're gonna leave.
It is what it
because
is.
We're not gonna do this.
That's right. That's what we did.
And it's not me being an asshole. It's I was diagnosed. So I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis in 2024.
No shit.
And so I've been in and out of the medical system for a bajillion years and had some really awful experiences with medications, doctors, just all kinds of crap. And so when the COVID, and I think this was a big part of my bias with the COVID stuff, because I'm already kind of leery of big pharma as it was.
Yep.
And to see them come out and be like, well, you kids could be ace, because they came out and they were like, the kids aren't affected by COVID and COVID's not going to hurt your kids. But then to see them come out with the jab, and that was the first thing they went after was the kids because they have asymptomatic, like
the fucking
the whole
kids.
thing was ridiculous.
Yep.
And that didn't have anything to do with my politics. I wasn't even awake. I wasn't paying attention. Just my common sense, which I'm pretty sure I got from my dad, was like, no, this is dumb.
No
like,
chance.
We're not doing this. Is dumb.
Yep.
And I was so surprised to be one of the very few people that got that way really quick, really, really early on. I mean, like, no, we're not doing this. But I can't. Too many good, positive things have come out of this. So many people have gone off grid and stopped eating out at restaurants, stopped buying, groceries
Shit for food.
Right, and growing their own food, starting their
Yes.
own little mini farms. And a lot of people found, TikTok fame, doing things that they love
That's
to do.
right.
It's they gave up their 9 to 5, and now they can do this stuff just on Creator Fun. Like, and that is, I think that's far more incredible than the detrimental stuff that came from COVID. And I can't believe that this is a new world order. And then the Georgia Guidestones, they struck by light. Somebody bombed them.
Somebody blew them up.
Somebody blew them up. They were all the Georgia Guidestones were the Great Reset, and then some dude blew them up, and we never found out who it was, and we tore them down, and that's it.
They go.
But there's no way. So now we've got no New Testament. We've got nothing. We're just going to keep going. It's going to keep getting more radical and more weird, I think. But eventually, you're going to see it's almost going to be like a zit. It's going to pop, and it's going to be done.
I love that perspective
That is
because
great.
it's so hard
That's
to
great.
find positivity.
People are negative. I think people thrive. They love their negativity.
Of course.
They just do.
Of course.
I don't know why.
I love that. I know it's an option. I know it's a possibility. And that was what I ended up telling my wife, honey, there's some really positive coming out of this. No, there is a great reset. It is underway. We're watching it.
Mm-hmm.
But there is also a great awakening. And there are more people, me included, that would have otherwise been like, oh, this is a political game. No, not fuck that.
Mm-hmm.
But, and once you, and I want to hop into Tucker real quick, but once you see it, you can't unsee it anymore.
Yeah, you just can't. And you can try.
You can
Want to. Like, I want to go back to sleep. I want to go back to the days where I could just play CNN in the
Of
background.
course. Yeah.
And not even think about this stuff.
Yep.
But I can't, and I won't. I was back and forth with this a couple times where I'm like, I'm just fucking done with this. Like,
Yeah.
you people are mean. I have no reason to come up here and do this.
Yep.
I'm not getting anything out of this. Like, I could just leave. Fuck you then.
Yep.
but I can't. I can't go back to sleep. I can't.
We've said once you look at it through the lens of a movie, like we've talked about,
It makes
that's
all the
all
sense.
you will ever see.
Yep.
Is just a bunch of actors.
Yep. Could you imagine? So now picture it. So we're going into 2024, right? If you were of the mindset that this is a movie, so we're in the middle of the movie now. Donald Trump, he's got indicted. They got him. He's going to go to jail,
Yep.
right? He's got to go to court. While he's doing this court and this stuff, right, which he's going to be doing.
Of course.
He's also going to be running for president, right? And you're donating money to him because he's
Sounds like
going
a fucking movie.
It's a movie. So then his
It
final
actually sounds like Black Sheep.
his
Well,
final
yeah.
day is going to be late October 2024. Election day is November 2024. Late October 2024, maybe even into November 2024. You're going to see him come out of that courthouse vindicated, right?
Yeah.
He's going to get in his motorcade, motherfucker, drive back to Mar-a-Lago and accept his presidency because he will have won. If that happens, then you will know. You will know that this is a movie. Another way that you will know that is if this is a Great Awakening versus the Great Reset is if Robert F. Kennedy wins the primary for the Democrats, because the elitists hate them both. The elitists hate Trump. They hate Robert F. Kennedy. They hate them both. How are you going to cheat? How are you going to cheat? You got a Democrat that's Robert F. Kennedy Jr. You got Donald J. Trump. News hates them both. Frickin' media hates them both. The elitists hate them both. The swamp hates them both. How are you going to live? Or how are you going to cheat? Why would you cheat?
Yeah.
Like, what's going to happen if he makes it in there and it turns out to be those two running for the president of the United States in 2024?
Who's got your vote?
That
RFK?
I'm not gonna say yet because I haven't dug deep enough into RFK, so I'm not gonna say yet. And people, for some reason, hang a lot of their hat on who I'm gonna vote for. I don't know why.
Sure.
Like, what does it matter?
Because people love you. They appreciate you. They respect
appreciate
you.
my opinion.
Yeah, they appreciate your opinion.
I don't
tell
know
the
yet.
truth.
And that's what I keep telling them. I don't know yet.
Good.
And so, but then you're gonna know, because then the power, regardless of who wins, power is gonna be given back to the people. It just is. There's no other way around it.
Do you know Dr. Ben Tapper?
I have heard
You know
of
who he
Dr.
is?
Ben Tapper.
I should
yes.
introduce you to him. He's a friend of mine, friend of the show. He's actually been a guest on the show.
Okay.
First guess.
Yeah, he was our first guest. He is a chiropractor. He actually took an early fight for the against the mandates.
Okay.
Sort of a holistic
Is he on
doctor.
social media?
Oh yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
he had a
familiar.
The disinformation doesn't.
He was one of those, and he had that blow up at the city council meeting or something that went
Yeah.
viral. That's kind of how he
Okay.
started off.
So he had a viral hit, and yeah, and the Biden administration labeled him as one of the disinformation dozen, 80% of all, yeah, whatever the fuck it was.
Right.
But he's actually wrapped up in a lawsuit, teamed up with RFK, and is fighting the good fight. But anyway, he's a guy I probably want to introduce you to.
Yeah,
he'd be a good guest on your show
I bet he'd have a lot of fun on my show.
for sure.
I just let him open. Be like, tell me all about
And
it.
he's a guy.
Tell me
Yep.
all about it.
Yep, he's a guy who would do it. He loves to tell you all about it.
I would, and I'd love to hear
Yeah.
it. Yeah, the RFK Jr. stuff. So we researched that too. There's some documentation out there that suggests that the Trumps and the Kennedys are related, like familial.
Yeah, dude,
cousins.
what the fuck? I've heard that.
So, and JFK Jr. Yes, the Kennedys is so hard. JFK Jr. and Donald Trump were really, really, really good friends.
Really?
Hung out a lot. There was a whole thing about it. So that's why I said, like, if the RFK, and I like RFK because he's staunchly against the jab. Like, he's not only staunchly against the mandates, he's staunchly against all of it. Like, he wants it, the big pharma, and that's one of my where he's going to win my heart, because I hate big pharma. I hate all of them. I hate it. I hate what they do to people. I hate the way they treat people.
How does he win the Democratic ticket then? Then it would definitely have to be a show.
That's how you're going to know. If he wins.
Because there's no way any Democrat wants him to be there.
And they're already calling him out. If he wins, then you're going to know who's actually in charge, is the good guys. I don't know who the good guys are, but it's going to be good guys, because regardless of what happens, their views on things are pretty similar. And RFK Jr. is pretty, aside from the climate change shit, he's pretty common sense with stuff. So regardless, it doesn't matter. Like, everything's going to be all right
You
for
think
people.
if it's a Trump RFK fight, it's a lose-lose for the bad guys,
I
so
do.
win-win for the good guys,
Correct.
and Trump RFK represent the good guys.
Correct.
Whatever the fucking show is, whether they're controlled or not, whatever it is. And I think there's kind of an element of control in everybody. I mean,
Absolutely.
there's an element of control in us. You
Absolutely.
can call us controlled opposition if you want, but we speak Pig Latin
Right.
and we fucking remove midget jokes from our fucking show as to not get censored. I mean, that's an element of control. And when you bring, the highest level of financial incentive into the picture, I mean, I think everyone's kind of controlled.
Well, everybody has their own opposition too. I mean, maybe I guess, I don't know. I don't know that I consider myself controlled.
Well, no, I'm definitely not controlled. I
don't
fight
know.
against it. Shit, I get into fights with my wife and Zach's wife about if I want to say the word retard, I don't care who I offend. Like,
Right.
I'm sorry that I'm not going to go picking on people.
Right.
Like, if you have a mental disability, you can bet your fucking ass I'm not going to walk up to you and say the word retard and say you're a retard and pick on people. But if I want to say the word retard, if I want to tell my kids, don't be a retard.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry that I offended you, but like we talked earlier, that's a you problem. It's not a me problem.
When we've talked, so we've been doing the show, like I said, this last 2 years, going into 2 years now, and we've talked a lot about, we've had a couple sponsorships and things like that come and kind of fall out, but that's a big part of it. It's like, if I want to take this to that kind of level, like I almost can't do that without a sponsor.
What are you going to do?
As this even continues on, even with your other news outcasts like Daily Wire and things like that, you're almost going to kind of see that start to fall off too. You are really going to see people focusing on their favorite podcasters. And I think financially, you're going to see people start
spending their money there
versus spending their money, on things like with the Daily Wire subscriptions, Daily Wire, or even Fox News, right? I had one guy who just started his membership. He was paying for the Fox News first app or whatever. Tucker left. He canceled it and he gave it to me. And I thought that was cool as shit. I will forever be humbled.
I think that's super fucking
I
dope.
will be
Yeah,
forever
that's awesome.
humbled by a lot of this
of
too.
course.
Like, especially during an economy this time, you're going to come in, even with, the $5.
You're
Like,
going to give me
you're going to, just for
$5 of
existing,
your
just for
money.
being
Yeah.
here on camera saying
agree.
what I'm saying, that is forever going to humble me. But I think you're going to see this transition into more of that and less of the sponsorship deals as well.
So that's something I want to talk about. Let's hop into this quick. And we've talked off camera and off the air, but I want to talk to the audience about this. I want to talk to you about it more in depth. I think we agree, and I think we all agree, that Tucker and whatever his departure looks like from Fox, whatever it is, like we spoke, there's a great awakening also. And I think most of us I, for one, used to watch Fox. I would watch CNN just so I can see what these fucking wackos are talking about. And then I would watch Fox, and all of a sudden they started to kind of...
I didn't even know there was a difference
Yeah.
at the time. I was like,
They-
had it on.
They all of a sudden started... It was just like, holy shit. They're saying the same fucking shit with a different spin. But I was one of those ones that I held on, and I stopped watching Tucker also, but... It landed me on literally, I only was attached to Fox News or could be called a viewer for his show. That eventually faded also, and I don't watch any news at all, any mainstream media at all. But I think what we're seeing right now with whatever his departure looks like is the last fucking thread that people were hanging on to Fox, which is the last thread to mainstream media. I think that people were hanging on to is now gone.
That started in 2020 because Fox News called the election before. So Fox News
That's
called
right.
the election and people were fired the fuck up for
Right.
months.
And they held on for Tucker and Tucker only. When he leaves, I believe, and I think you may agree, this may be the end of mainstream media as we know it.
yeah, you'll see them start to fizzle. It's going to get Texas. So Fox's, their stocks have dropped and people are leaving by the thousands, right?
Yep.
CNN, they already had struggling ratings with their bullshit, but you're seeing those people leave. Tucker was the last thing that they had. You're right. They paid for Tucker. Now that Tucker's gone, and if Tucker starts something independently on his own, just like James
He's gonna be
O'Keefe,
fucking loaded.
It's a wrap.
he'll be able to just roll on people's donations, right? I watch Tucker for entertainment. I have of the mindset to use mainstream media for entertainment or information, but you have to be cognitive enough to remove the bias
Grain of
bullshit
salt.
from
That's
it.
right.
Yeah, to just get the information, but remove the bias from it. But like Tucker, I strictly watch Tucker for entertainment. I come to Tucker for news.
And man, he was
made me
fucking
laugh.
entertaining.
He
It's
just
hilarious.
made me, he made me laugh. Like and that was it. I didn't use Tucker for much else other than that. But you're going to see this this is where the power of the media is given back to the people.
Yeah.
Because as we continue to get bigger, I have to direct my content to what my people want to see.
Sure.
So my people, they don't want to talk about Ukraine and Russia and China. They don't care. They don't live there. I'm thankful for that because I don't know a lot about international politics. So that they want to talk about Tucker Carlson leaving Fox News. They want to talk about Java the Hutt on TikTok. I can cover that all in a very professional, almost mainstream type of way with content that is directed towards what they want to know. What also this helps a lot with is the limiting of information that they need to know. And this is where I get a lot of people that thank me a lot for what I do. There is a 24-hour news cycle, so there's constantly breaking news over and over and over and over, and people get overwhelmed, and they are already mentally ill thanks to COVID, thanks to life.
Yeah.
And
Thanks
then you
to the
start
propaganda.
Yeah, you start
worldwide.
throwing fear porn at them constantly over nukes here in Russia, and it's like people get overwhelmed. But now people know that they don't have to watch any of that. They just got to come watch me on Tuesdays. I'll take out any bullshit I don't think they need to know, and I'll just talk about what I think they do need to know. And that just limits a lot of the overwhelmness that I think a lot of people get when it comes to the media and stuff. And I think you're going to see a lot of podcasters are able to do the same thing. People are going to pick their people. They're going to pay those people because they do appreciate what they do.
Yep.
And you're going to see the rest of this fall to the wayside. And that's going to be the first step of many of a greater awakening.
So here's my question, though.
Yeah.
I love that.
And I'd be interested in hearing both of your opinions. But why would Fox News do that? Like they have to have known Tucker Carlson was the driving force in a lot of their viewership.
Yeah.
Budweiser has to know that a lot of their money comes from people that are not going to agree with them putting a transgender woman on their advertisement. Is there bigger paychecks coming from other sources? Do they really give a shit if they go under because they're getting paid either way? Like why? I refuse to believe they're naive enough to think that was going to help them.
Sure. I have my opinion, but I'll hear yours. You're the guest.
So
Yeah, let's
all
go.
of the media companies are owned by the same 2 and 3 families, 2 and 3 companies. You know the story, right?
Of course.
Okay. So there's that. There's also something called, and I can't remember, but it's a wokeness score. So this score is created by those companies, and it's a score that companies need to hit in order to get bonuses, right? And the wokeness score is basically how woke can you get. This is what happened with Bud Light. Somebody found out. So Bud Light ran the campaign with Dylan Mulvaney in order to make a dent on their score
Well,
on
their
this
score
scoring.
fucking skyrocketed after that.
So
I'm sure.
that score skyrocketed, got their bonuses,
But
their
they're
stock
fucking their money tanked.
it went far. In my opinion, it went far to the wayside. They're not. It isn't gonna.
You don't think they
It's not
can
going to
recover?
balance out?
I don't think they will.
I heard you say that.
I'm sorry.
They already put not the CEO but the marketing director.
Yeah, the chick, she gone. She
Yeah.
gone.
Yeah.
So is her boss.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, both of them are
They
gone.
thought that was going to be enough, but it's not. People are done. People are done with the wokeness. But there's a scale that they need to hit in order
Yep.
to get bonuses from these companies that own them. So this is part of it. Fox News is on that scale as well, right? So there are rules that the media, and specifically these anchors and these hosts, they have to follow. And a lot of those rules are supposed to align with the more woke agenda and not leaning into the misinformation, which became kind of one of those trigger words.
The
That was
information, you mean?
misinformation. They call me a misinformation spreader because
That's what I'm saying.
Yes,
I call you an information
information,
spreader.
right? There are certain things they can't talk about. So when the CIA declassed all those files, Tucker was one of the first ones that went through them.
He went right at him.
So that was one of.
So he was just going rogue on Fox News, basically.
That's what a lot of people are thinking happened.
Gotcha.
And then when the J6 stuff hit and McCarthy gave, and then
Yep.
and I think he was. That's why when you asked me backstage if Tucker was a good guy, I think he wanted to be. I think he
How are
wanted
they airing
to.
that shit then?
Well, hold on. So
Okay.
the wokeness
side
score.
conversation.
Here's the reason.
I'm interested in that.
And this is where they say follow the money. We can go on with that. It's follow the power, but and it's for not the money. It's for the power. They can fucking print money out of thin air. They do it. It's not money. It's power and it's control. However, the power and the control for the wokeness score, as you described it, is based on the people who are paying for advertisement spots. The more fucking woke you are, the more the corporate world, the massive corporations that are controlling all the information are making money. Therefore, they want to advertise with the wokest companies because that's where their money is going to go. And the less woke you are, the less advertisement dollars you can get. So I believe, right along with what you said, is although he was going to take their whole fucking audience if they let him go, he's not making any money because nobody's the pharmaceutical companies are not paying to advertise on Tucker's show.
Right. He's not making any.
He's not making any money.
Right,
He's
right.
bringing an audience, but they're not fucking selling good advertisements for
Right.
it. So Fox probably looked at that and said, he's going to lose half of our audience, but we can't get any big time fucking advertisers on that spot. So even if we lose half of our fucking audience and get double the revenue, double the marketing and the advertisement revenue for that, we're still going to be okay as we build. But I think you might be right.
I don't
I think
understand.
they'll never build back from it like Bud Light.
I will never understand that either. So why are you going to advertise to a bunch of people that don't believe in your biblical bullshit?
It's
anyway?
fucking ridiculous.
That's what I'm, like you're
Because
gonna
they
let-
don't understand what's going on.
So we're going to let Pfizer come in and we're going to advertise during what I think it was the Grammys.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you do that?
Brought
Like,
to you by Pfizer.
Yeah, brought to you by Pfizer. But everybody knows not to take this. Even Hollywood knows not to take it, and the ones that did aren't breathing anymore. Like, what? I'll never understand that with advertising. What's the point in having a primetime advertising spot if nobody wants to use your shitty product anyway?
Yeah, fuck.
As a side rant. I'm sorry.
Fuck.
I never understood it. Like,
Propaganda it's a programming. If you say it enough, you say it enough, you say it enough, you say it enough, you pound it into their head. I think they understand that.
When you do need it, that'll be the first
That's
thing
right.
you think of.
Yep. I think it's just a campaign, a propaganda campaign that they fully believe in. And you said it early on in the show. Like, they're fucking in a full-blown scramble.
Right.
They're scrambling. We're watching them. They're as sloppy as they've ever been.
Full court press.
Full court press, because they understand that more and more of us are using our voice. Tucker, as he and you launched it when he was doing it, which I appreciated. That's where I actually got the information, was your show and your content. Was that Tucker broke his silence, and I was like, oh shit, she's right. Let me watch that. I watched the full video, and I think his words were so, and as always, so well crafted and pointed right in the right direction to get his message across without actually crossing the lines that are going to get him fucking sued or canceled or whatever it is.
Right.
But it was, as long as our voices could still be heard, there is hope.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
as long as we can still use these words, as long as we can still say the truth that more and more people are experiencing and understanding, we have hope. And I love that you brought that message to this show, because my audience, and I'm guilty of being pessimistic and wanting to tell people, no, motherfuckers, don't believe what they're telling you. Prepare yourself. Like, get a water source and get food. And when
I remember that too.
dude, when shit comes down, like, just be prepared. But you better use if you don't use it, you lose it. Right. Use your right to free speech. Go buy a fucking gun. Go buy an ammo. You're afraid of the gun? Don't buy ammo. Go get trained. Like, use your rights. And after every show we ask, we don't want to sound like alarmists. We just want to sound like truth tellers. Like, hey, do the right thing. And oftentimes it could be taken negatively. And I love that you brought such a positive light to it. Like,
Thank you for the breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
Chip.
I think
For
it's
real.
important. I mean, there's that is the one thing that too, I think it's going to set us apart. I think from a lot of different podcasters and things. And like, I like Dan Bongino. I didn't watch him an awful lot, but I like Dan Bongino.
yeah, sure.
I love Tucker. Tucker made me laugh. This is when I gear
Same.
myself trying to talk about this stuff. I kind of geared after Tucker because like he could be talking about the worst shit, but he's like, it's not just insane.
Slips a
It's
joke
just
in
insane.
there.
And I'm like, you know what? That just makes me feel better about what's going
I
on.
agree.
I can't change any of it. I can't change Russia maybe nuking. Like, God, I can't even say that out loud, like with a straight face. I can't change any of it, but I can be like, yeah, that's kind of funny. Like, I got that sense of humor. That's how I want to be. And I think if we have enough of mainstream media spreading fear porn, and there's no point in me coming out here and screaming at you about things that are going on. And like Alex Jones, I like Alex Jones too, but he's also another one that he's an alarmist. And what are we going to do? And we have to do this. And it's like, you don't give everybody a solution, right? You come out here with a bunch of problems, and you come out here and you threaten people with World War III, but you don't give them any solutions.
Right.
You're going to come out here and scare the shit out of these people with COVID.
Right.
And you don't give them, any solutions. You don't give them any, and I can't stand that. I'm.
Have you ever heard of the IDS method?
What is that? No.
Identify, discuss, and solve. We'll talk about it on a later date. I'll tell you all about it. But listen, I think as we move to wrap the show, I want to highlight again the level of optimism We try to bring value. I'm going to ask you one question. I want to know what your purpose is. So think about it for a second. But as we move to wrap, I want everyone to leave this show understanding that there is positivity in it. If we can just approach all of the bullshit that we are facing, and it's at levels that we've never experienced before. It's scary levels, and it is scary. It's obvious. It's scary. And a lot of people are scared out of their fucking minds what to do. But if we can approach things with this level of positivity and optimism and just have level-headed conversations and respect each other's opinions, which some suck, some don't, some are great, some aren't, whatever it is, we have hope. And as long as we fight and say what the fuck we want to say and say what we believe, even if we're wrong. Like if you're wrong, how many times do you do live shows?
We've been wrong.
You've been wrong, right? It's
We've
okay.
been wrong a little bit.
Fuck it.
Here and there.
It's okay.
That's how you learn.
You don't crucify someone who is wrong. You welcome them back in. And if you were wrong, admit
Say
you're wrong.
Just say you're wrong.
Say you were wrong.
Fuck, you know what? I was wrong.
Shit.
Let me
rid of
fix
the
that.
Fucking egos, man.
Yeah.
Right. Let it all go. So I appreciate your candor. I appreciate the positivity you brought to our show. I hope that you come back on. But before I let you go,
Yes.
we have one question we ask all of our guests, and I want to know what your purpose is. It might spark another conversation, but I want to know, what is your purpose? You mentioned it a couple times throughout the show. Obviously, it drives you, but tell us about your purpose.
This is my purpose. This is a purpose I never knew I even needed or wanted in my life. I never thought that this would be something that I would be doing as a job, much less, as my purpose. This is to come out here and to talk to people every week about things that are going on, and to build that community of people so people don't feel alone, to build that almost kind of like that, we talked about it earlier, like that leadership, like just be the change you want people to see,
yeah.
be that person. This is my purpose. I said a lot with that, and this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I am supposed to be out here doing this, and I have to keep learning, and I have to keep growing, and I keep changing things as things change. But being in front and being out here with my folks, my people, and then raising our kids, like, both of us raising our kids to understand the game and to make sure that they grow up thinking for themselves, and that never changes. Like that's a big part of all of this and my purpose in this. So that's my purpose, and I'll defend it to the ground. I'll fight anybody for it.
You will protect your purpose.
I will protect my purpose
Yeah,
with
amen.
everything that I have.
Hell yes.
I love that.
So
Holy shit.
yeah.
So cool. Thank you so much for
You're
coming. Shipwreck, listen, you can follow her, like, subscribe, do all that shit to not only our show, but her show on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram,
All the things.
YouTube,
TikTok.
Where do they
It'll
find
get
you?
canceled. Yeah, tell us where to find you.
Shipwreck. So it's just Shipwreck Show, and we're on everything. If you type in Shipwreck Show on everything, you'll find us.
It does.
We're-
I did it earlier.
except Clapper.
All the things.
I'll never go back to Clapper.
No Clapper.
That's for another time.
Different show. You got to
That's
come
for
back and
another
tell us about it.
Son of a bitch.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, listen, follow her, subscribe, support her. She is a true fighter and a steward of freedom. It's important to us. We have a very similar purpose. I appreciate you so much, and thank you all for, of course. Thank you all for listening. And as always, find your purpose, serve your purpose, and protect your purpose, people. Thank you.
Thank you.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.